We could be inching closer to a government shutdown. The question is, did the president actually throw a wrench into the whole thing and jeopardizing hopes for a last-minute deal? And the fate of 700,000 Dreamers is uncertain as we speak. That's thanks to the gridlock in D.C. We will speak to a young woman brought here from Guatemala when she was only 5, and she'll explain how she's dealing with the confusion and the uncertainty. Also, New York City and Newark, they are finalists among the 20 finalists for Amazon's second headquarters. It would be a huge deal, bringing thousands of jobs and billions of dollars to the winning city. But the question is it a good deal for the taxpayer? We'll explain. Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you for joining us on this uncertain Thursday evening. We have a possible government shutdown, and it's now just 30 hours away. As we speak, we're no closer to a deal than we were yesterday at this time. House Speaker Paul Ryan, he's predicting the House will pass a short-term funding deal, and he's moving ahead with a vote this evening. But as it gets closer, it is looking like that may not pass, and things are even dicier when it comes to the U.S. Senate. Here's Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He doesn't even know what the president wants.
I'm looking for something that President Trump supports. And he's not yet indicated what measure he's willing to sign.
So let's be clear here. As everyone's struggling to try and get to a deal that they can get the votes, they don't even know if it's a deal that the president will put his signature to. I know the president said, just get it to my desk and I'll sign it, but then he changed his mind less than 24 hours or later, earlier this week. Now, the math. The math is also not into the Senate's favor. It would need 60 votes to pass, which means at least 9 Democrats are going to have to get on board and vote yes. And as we showed you last night, there are 10 Democrats all up for re-election this year from states that Trump carried in 2016. Bloomberg is reporting that Democrats are saying they have enough votes to block the thing, however. Plus, listen to Lindsey Graham. He is still looking like a no. One of his concerns is the Dreamers. Here's the South Carolina Republican.
I don't want to put these kids through any more hell. I don't want to wait to March 4th.
He, of course, is talking about the nearly 700,000 Dreamers who were brought to the U.S. as kids, obviously not of their own choice. Now, they could be subject to deportation unless the DACA program is reauthorized, and the deadline fast approaching this March. Another sticking point, as if we needed more, is CHIP. That stands for the Children Health Insurance Program. It covers nearly 9 million kids and their families. They need help, but make too much money to qualify for Medicaid, so they're in that gap. The president, he blindsided everyone, including most particularly his own party, when he said this tweet this morning, quote, "CHIP should be part of a long-term solution, not a 30-day or short-term extension." Exclamation point. Now, a few hours later, the White House tried to clarify. Now, that contradicts what the administration said just a day earlier when it supported CHIP in a short-term deal. The White House tried to say that the president, what he really meant was that they put out a statement that Trump would support what would come out of the House, but frankly, we've heard that before. Then there's a flap over Trump's beloved wall. If anyone forgets what the president campaigned on and what promised, and so there's no debate about vagaries here, let me just play one of a clip that you heard a million times all last year.
We are going to build a wall, don't worry about it. And wait a minute, and who's going to pay for the wall? Who's going to pay for the wall? Who's going to pay for the wall?
If you couldn't make that out, that was Chance of Mexico. But just yesterday, Chief of Staff, that's Trump's Chief of Staff, John Kelly, he spoke about Trump's immigration policy and knowledge during the campaign. Washington Post reporting, quote, Kelly told Democratic lawmakers Wednesday that some of the hardline immigration policies that the president advocated during the campaign were, quote, uninformed, and that the U.S. will never construct a wall along its entire southern border, and that Mexico will never pay for it. That, according to multiple people familiar and present at the meeting. Of course, Trump doesn't like that, and he is pushing back, saying he has not changed his position, but Kelly further clarified on Fox News last night exactly what he meant.
He has evolved in the way he's looked at things. campaign to governing are two different things, and this president is very, very, very flexible in terms of what is within the realm of the possible.
Apparently, though, no one told that guy, the president. He and Kelly still apparently working on two different worlds or two different realities. So now we got a situation where the president keeps changing his mind, and I'm talking daily. Leaders of his own party have no idea where he stands or what deal he'll accept, and he is saying it's not his job to rally votes. You heard me clearly on that last point. When asked today why he was going to Pennsylvania to help campaign or not campaign, it's too confusing to even understand, he said, hey, it's not on me if this thing shuts down. Go talk to Congress. Plus, on top of that, if there is a shutdown, it would happen on the 1-year anniversary of his inauguration. Happy anniversary, Mr. President. Let's bring in our panel right now. Richard Brodsky, a former Democratic New York State Assemblyman from Westchester, professor at NYU, and so much more. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Conservative strategist Bill O'Reilly, and Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. And hopefully it conveyed the confusion, Andrew, that's out there. But the biggest impediment to this is, and I've never seen this, we've seen government shutdowns, we've seen dysfunction in state capitals and in Washington with both political parties, but I've never seen, with a fast approaching deadline, where no one knows what the person who has to sign it wants. And it doesn't seem he knows what he wants, let alone he doesn't believe it's his job to get it across the finish line or even to convey his wishes.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about the last person who's in Trump's ear changing his opinion on this, but we're actually getting evidence of this over the last week. A week ago today was the meeting where Lindsey Graham and Dick Durbin had a bipartisan deal that would have included DACA and would have included some wall funding. Call up the White House. They say, we've got a deal for you, which is what Trump's instructions to them were. Come up with any bipartisan deal and I'll sign it. So they call up, and in the 2 hours from that call until they show up at the White House, Tom Cotton and a bunch of Republicans and John Kelly get in his ear and say, no, this isn't good for your base. You got the same thing last night.
And then, of course, the Haitian remarks come out the next day, and we completely go off the rails. Right.
And you got the same thing last night, where it's, we have this offer that's going, and Trump, within the matter of 24 hours, I think Kelly embarrassed him on TV last night by making him look weak, like he's changing his mind, and then people get in his ear and tell him your base isn't going to like this, and he turns around and he says, no, I haven't changed my mind at all. I haven't evolved at all. I haven't evolved.
I don't think it's a matter of changing his mind. He doesn't care what's in it. He could care less as long as it says that it's a victory.
But if he didn't care, Bill, if he didn't care, to Andrew's point, then why wouldn't he have said, give me a piece of paper, declare victory? He could. And by the way, Democrats were swallowing hard, and I heard from folks that they were hearing it, but they were trying to protect the Democrats that were like the McCaskells and the Missouris in these swing states that Trump won last time, that, hey, you don't want this on your plate here. Let's give him some wall funding. Let's hold our nose. Let's get through this. He could have declared victory, and actually I think had a good news cycle, Trump could have. But then you got the little twerp Stephen Miller, and then it sounds like even Kelly saying that you're going to get in trouble with this. All of a sudden the meeting gets sabotaged, we're off the rails. If he would have taken anything, to your point, he would have just signed the deal. I think he just is concerned that 30% of this country, he can't lose them.
There were two factors in this. One was the Dreamers stuff. Put that aside. The other was this seemingly clever Republican ploy to throw the CHIP funding, the child health funding, into the deal and make it hard for Democrats to say no. There, Trump is onto something. I don't know that you trade a permanent extension of an important program everybody wants for a temporary.
Then why did he say that's what he wanted?
No. CHIP was that was DACA.
No, Richard. CHIP. The Republicans were trying to position, they were trying to use that to hold Democrats hostage. And then Trump comes out last night with a tweet and says, I don't want any short-term fix for this. I want a long-term fix. And then they're going, what are you doing? It's our one leverage point. Why are you giving it away?
You're trying to make me defend them again. I'm not trying to defend them. I'm trying to explain them.
When you do
this. The smart political advice is don't trade a permanent for a temporary. I think that's what someone whispered in his ear. As to DACA, if Republicans like Lindsey Graham looked like morons in the last couple of weeks while they were out there defending him, he's reasonable, he's had a very successful, and then they get hit with the Haitian remarks. What you've got is, as you pointed out, chaos. It's generated from the top, and it's not going to stop. It's going to go on like this forever.
So you know what scares me the most is we've learned in this exercise, or confirmed in this exercise, he has no plan. And you could like it, not like it, but at least somebody has, this is what I want. Doesn't know what he wants, and he's being led around by people, a lot of which seem to be unqualified, frankly. There's no strategy. There's no end game for him. Forget about policy. There's no political end game for him. And to me, what I think is being overlooked in this is what he said yesterday. It's not my job. When can you think, imagine a county executive, a governor, let alone a president saying, if the lights shut out and the government shuts down, don't come to me. I'm going to Pennsylvania and I'm going to campaign, not campaign for this guy. To me, Dominic, that says, if the lights do go out tomorrow night at midnight, where is the urgency for this man to turn them back on? I don't know he cares, really.
Well, there may be, I know that you don't like when we just discussed the 30% at the expense of the other 70%.
Because they try and make it sound like that's the majority in this
country.
No.
Let's be very clear. The 30% is the minority, the 70% is the majority. But think about this. If the lights go out tomorrow night, that's a win for his little base, for his base of the 30%. These are people that believe, and maybe Bill can correct me if I'm wrong. So he looks like a winner to his people if the government shuts down tomorrow. No offense to the presidency of the United States, he's crazy enough to think that the other 70% that will be greatly affected by a shutdown, that it doesn't matter. Look at what he did after the Haitian call, making the round, the Haitian comment, making the rounds to see how it's going to play out.
He likes the drama and he likes the leverage.
Right.
The leverage that comes with it. Exactly.
But he's playing a very dangerous game, almost of suicide.
I gotta say, I've changed my mind on all of this. I was urging caution for the Democrats. You got the wave coming, everything's going well. Don't mess around with a shutdown. Look at the PR in the last week that this White House has had and how many self-inflicted wounds they've had in the run-up to this deal. Shut it down. Shut the government.
So you're Debbie Downer.
No, if the Democrats want to stand united and let the government shut down, shut it down. I can't
Bill,
see them losing the PR game
Bill,
at this point, considering they keep tripping over themselves.
I had
at the
a
White
fascinating conversation, which was I was surrounded by people who didn't want to vocally say they voted for Trump, but they voted for Trump. They're doing very well right now. And the point they always kept coming back to me was, okay, fine, he's an embarrassment, fine, he's a moron, all those things. But, hey, we're going to do good on taxes, and by the way, look at the market. Right. If the market has defied all logic for me, I can't explain. The one thing they always used to say is we need stability, we need to know, okay, there has been the definition of volatility for the last 12 months, and still it keeps going up. However, if there's a government shutdown, I can't think that's a good economic indicator for the market. If the market turns, I think that's the only metric, even though he has really nothing to do with the market's performance, that he's going to care about. Because that's the one number that he can point to, that and jobs.
Right.
So do you think that if that turns, both the calendar that people got to run in these midterms and now the market might drive him to move?
It's a good point. I hadn't thought about it, and you're right. There will be some kind of market reaction to that. But I think everybody loses, but at the same extent, all the different perspectives around the country kind of stay the same. The 30% blame it on the Democrats and the Republican establishment. Ryan blames it on Trump. Trump blames it on, it doesn't change that much.
But there's a big truth.
But there is a risk there. I don't know if he's thought that deeply about what it might do to the market. It's a very good point. I haven't heard that.
There's a big truth here that the American people have absorbed. Republicans control the House. Republicans control the Senate. It's very hard to persuasively to blame Democrats for this. I think Andrew's ultimately right.
Yeah. All right. When we come back here, instead of just the numbers here, we're trying to put a face on the issue when we're talking about dreamers. Who are these people here whose fate rests in the hands of Congress and the president? And as you can imagine, they're a very scared population tonight here with the clock ticking. We're going to speak with the dreamer who explains how stressful this whole thing has become.